Hello everyone and welcome back to Penn State Sports Night. I'm Brooke Steach, joined by Alexis Yoder and Colavita, and tonight we're bringing you an end of the season recap of Penn State football. So guys, let's start from the beginning of the season in September. The team won week 1 on the road in Wisconsin and then managed to win 4 home games in a row at Beaver Stadium. JC, what were your expectations heading into this season?
I had huge expectations heading into this year. You have, you're a veteran quarterback, an experienced quarterback in Sean Clifford. He's a guy, he's going to get those yards, he's going to get those touchdowns. He's not going to turn the ball over very much. He's a guy that's going to win you some games. He's won some big games. Cotton Bowl, probably the biggest of his entire career. And then you got your running back room, who was supposedly supposed to be spectacular, with guys like Kevon Lee and John Lovett, the transfer from Baylor. And I expected Parker Washington and Jahan Dotson to go off this season. And the defense, the pride of the Lions, that that they've been called that so long. They were great this year. They were great last year, and I expected them to really carry this team throughout the 2021 season.
Yeah, JC, I'll have to agree with you there. Honestly, my expectations for this offense as a whole were very high going into this season. You have a fifth-year senior in Sean Clifford coming back for his 3rd season as a starter, and you have a bunch of returning players in the running back room in Noah Cain and Kevon Lee. Kevon Lee had a huge breakout season last year with injuries to Journey Brown and Noah Cain. They weren't able to go. And he had a great year, so I was really expecting the running back room with all of that experience, and you add John Lovett, the transfer from Baylor, into that group. I was really expecting the running back room to really carry this offensive group and complement the wide receiving core of Jahan Dotson and Parker Washington. Excellent, but they really struggled this year, but I was really expecting them to have a great season. And I really expected them to carry the load of this team. Defense, I was really unsure of how they were going to perform this year just because they had a lot of transfers and a lot of departures to the NFL. So defense, I was a little shaky on at the beginning of the season. Offense, I really expected them to have a great season at the beginning of it.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys. There were a lot of high expectations, but after the team went 5-0, the team dealt with a lot of injuries, starting at Iowa when defensive tackle P.J. Mustipher was ruled out for the season. But Alexis, I'll start with you. What is your overall assessment of the season, starting with Iowa?
Yeah, I think in that Iowa game when we saw P.J. Mustipher go down on the first series against Iowa and he did not return, they were forced to play a lot of younger guys at that defensive tackle position, and they really defended the run game really well with the absence of an elite run defender like P.J. Mustipher. But then you have Sean Clifford go down in that game as well, and he really didn't seem like the same Sean Clifford for multiple weeks in a row, and that's really when we started to see this team snowball into a couple losses. Obviously, that 9 overtime loss to Illinois at home, and then you lose to Ohio State and Michigan as well. And we really didn't see Sean Clifford return to full health until the end of the season. And they were really trying to replace P.J. Mustipher at that tackle position as well. However, with that loss of P.J. Mustipher, the defense really carried this team on their back this season. The offense really struggled to get the run game going, and they even started to fade away from playing Jahan Dotson and Parker Washington in the pass game at the end of the season. So they were really dealing with a lot of 3-and-out situations, meaning the defense had to be on the field for a much longer time. And I really thought that their defensive ends in Arnold Ebiketie and Nick Tarver, and they really had strong seasons, as well as Derek Tangelo, who really had to carry the load of that interior defensive line on his back. And then also that safety tandem of Jaquan Brisker and Jair Brown. They were all over the field. They had great chemistry, always were on the same page and moving as a group. So defense, I really thought they stepped up down the stretch, especially with the loss of Sean Clifford, but obviously a disappointing season for Penn State. You start out 5-0 and then you end 7-5. That's really disappointing, especially with how many close losses they had this season. They had 4 losses that they lost by 4 or less points. That's a tough pill to swallow.
I hear you, Alexis, but I think that the biggest thing that we didn't really see from Penn State this year, they lost their mojo, going undefeated heading into that Iowa game. They had that game won. If Clifford doesn't get hurt, I firmly believe that game is an absolute blowout. Penn State's the number 2 team in the country, and you keep going on from there. I think they keep moving on, they keep rolling on. They may even, make a New Year's Six Bowl. They could potentially be in the college football playoff right now, but Clifford was gone. He lost his mojo. He had absolutely nothing left. And the defense, again, they carried the team the entire season. The running game just was putrid. But I'm really going to put this blame on this season for James Franklin. And I will go back a few years. You have the 4th and 5 draw play with Miles Sanders against Ohio State where you blow that game. And frankly, that's when it started to be downhill from right there. You know, he's a great recruiter. He's a great motivator. He is a horrible, horrible, horrible game day coach. And I don't know why. I have no clue why they extended him for 10 years. You just bought yourself 10 years of mediocrity right there.
Yeah, well, like you said, he's not going anywhere anytime soon, as neither is Penn State football. Like you said, too, their record is 7-5. They got those 6 wins for a bowl game. So speaking of that, what is your predictions? Where do you think that they're playing this bowl game? Because everyone's talking about that right now.
As a fan, I was really hoping they would get the Pinstripe Bowl. I really would have gone to that up in Yankee Stadium. Would have been a great atmosphere to go to. But as an analyst, I think they're going to be in South Florida with the Gator Bowl. They're going to play the Tennessee Volunteers. Maybe you can get a second SEC victory on the year, or maybe salvage, some part of that season.
I might have to agree with you on the part of them playing Tennessee, but not in the Gator Bowl. I think that they're going to be playing in the Music City Bowl. Think about it. You have Tennessee and Penn State both on the eastern side of the United States. Coming back to Tennessee, let's not forget that James Franklin spent some of his time as a head coach at Vanderbilt in Tennessee. So this game has so many moving parts to it that it would just be so great for them to play in the Music City Bowl. But also, I think a great matchup for Penn State would be against UCLA. Think about that high-powered offense against this high-powered defense. That would just be a great matchup, and that could take place in the Las Vegas Bowl. I could see Penn State going against UCLA or Arizona State in that bowl game. But a deciding factor may be that Penn State, that game would air here on the East Coast at about 10 o'clock at night. So you have to think about all the Penn State fans. Would they travel well to that game? Which is why maybe the Pinstripe Bowl might be a better option, but, southern weather over New York weather, but I agree. Yankee Stadium would be really cool.
Well, if it's at the Pinstripe Bowl, it's going to be pretty cold, so I'm personally hoping it's somewhere warm as I hope to travel to the game. We'll have to wait and see where Penn State's bowl game will be, as it will be announced within the coming weeks. That's all the time we have here on Penn State Sports Night. For Alexis Yoder and JC Colavita, I'm Brooke Steach. Thanks for watching and have a great night.
Thank you for watching this edition of Penn State Sports Night. If you're a fan of our content, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more clips. Also, follow us on Twitter at PSSN TV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with all the action. For all my colleagues, we are Penn State Sports Night.